I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. You may have noticed I've done a little organizing and decorating of my own. I moved from one side of the house to the other side of the house because as 2021 comes on, I plan on growing too. So today's topic is going to be about communication. It's going to be about how we align our words and our actions and our deeds so we can succeed. You know, is it our success in relationships, our personal relationships? How do we communicate in those? How are we communicating with ourselves? How are we communicating with others? It's an extension of how we communicate with the world or universe as a whole. So if you like that that's our topic today, please hit the like and subscribe button below. Before we get started, I want to remind you that I have a webpage called stacyforlife.com. On this webpage, I do a monthly blog, and so I invite you to read that. But also, there is a description of the services that I provide as a life coach. We all know that I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or anything like that. A lot of these things expressed are my personal, what works personally for me and my personal experience with these things. So I deal with addiction, codependency, and grief, but not exclusively to those things. And what I do is I help people process those things. But I also help people, because underneath all of that is a desire for healing and healthy relationships, as well as development of spiritual and soul consciousness. So the end result is that we feel comfortable in our own skin, but we have to go within, right? It's about going within. So we're going to talk about that communication again, because what I said was that it's communicating with ourselves first. You know, so we look at ourselves, and then what we say outwards to other people. Are we coming from a pain body? Because the pain bodies are what hold us back. It's not the other people that hold us back. They don't provide our lack. It's what's coming across here, and being able to gauge ourselves and walk in confidence into this world, no matter what's happening. So we'll start with a few. I do the topic Tuesday, and so last week I decided kind of on this topic because as I was driving one day, I was thinking, you know, it's not what we say, but how we say it. And I was thinking about just the words, I don't know, you know, how it can be taken so many different ways, that it's just the same words, but it can be taken so many different ways. Say that if you ask somebody a question, they say, I don't know, then that's not offensive, right? But if you ask somebody a question, and we've done this before, and they say, I don't know, you know, then that's kind of offensive, right? And then if you ask somebody a question and they say, I don't know, you may not think that they know anything, right? So what we take from those things and that energy, you notice there's an energy to those things too. So it's very important what we say and really what we're thinking about ourselves, because sometimes somebody, let me first read the two comments that I had when I asked for Topic Tuesday. You know, what people commented, and so we're going to cover those things as well. So first I'm going to read you the quote that I said, you know, in this request for Topic Tuesday. There's a quote that says, communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you're willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. And this is a quote by Brian Tracy. So as my friend Kim said, so I love the way you teach me how to communicate with love, keeping my side very unoffensive, yet hold to my boundaries. And I'm so grateful and would love to hear more on how to say that love, stay in that love for myself, for when others may still have a negative response. And then the other person asked, I think communication is a very good topic, and how to communicate with those that twist everything you say would help. And then I had another one here that says, I can always count on you, easygoing, easy relying, to help us out. You're absolutely always amazing. Miracle and trustworthy. And that's my friend Joey. So I thank you all who comment on my Facebook page when I post the Topic Tuesday. So we're going to cover those things. What Kim is talking about was that she called me last week, and she had a client who didn't show up, who had booked two appointments with her back to back. And so Kim wanted to know how can I go about that, because there's a clause in her agreement that if you don't show up for an appointment, but it was a new client, she's not dealt with this, before. Most clients show up. She's very good at what she does. So most of the time people show up, but this one didn't show up. And I mean, she's been doing this a long time too. And so, and it was a friend of a friend, so she really didn't want to say anything that would offend them. And so she said, well, how can I express that? And so I said, well, maybe you could say, I really look forward to doing this service for you, but unfortunately you missed your appointment. And so as the agreement stated, that there is a charge for that. So I still hope to do that, but I just wanted to let you know that there was going to be this extra charge. So even as nice as she stated it, the client still came back and said, this is ridiculous. The thing is that if you have a business where you have clients, we all know that if they don't show up, that costs us money, because we could have had somebody in that spot that would have showed up. See, that's the problem. And so Kim had every right to want to be compensated something for that time. She didn't charge for the whole service or the whole session of time, but she did deserve to be compensated. And some people, may still charge for the whole service or session. I don't know what people charge, but usually, it is a big inconvenience when people don't show up for appointments. Now, a lot of times people think when people, and this isn't her, but sometimes people are offended when people don't show up because it is their livelihood. This is how, we're making a living. Hairdressers and groomers and life coaches, anybody who's making a living, that's why you get billed for that, because you're cutting into that. And, you can take it as offensive, or you can take it just as it is that that's just, we don't know what was going on with them. If they make appointments all the time and don't show up, hopefully not, but, or what have you. But, Kim was still happy afterwards, even though the lady is not going to come after all, because she knows that her side of the street's clean, as she was saying in that she expressed it lovingly. She wasn't trying to be mean. She wanted to let the lady know, because once you start allowing people to disrespect your time, then they'll keep disrespecting your time. We teach people how to treat us. I've had the videos where we've talked about that. So in teaching people how to treat us, is that our time is valuable. Even when I'm not getting paid for my time is valuable. So then we're going into the next part of those questions that we talked about, is what if, you're talking to somebody and they twist your words. This is more on a personal level, I believe. And so when you're talking to somebody and they're twisting your words, for me, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt once. And if I say something and somebody, says something, they usually try to repeat back, but they twist it, right? And when they come back, I say, no, that's not what I said. What I said is this. And then if they try to tell me what I meant, or tell me something else, I may say one more thing. But I'm not going to keep spending my time. My time is too valuable to be arguing with somebody. So if somebody's going to have arguing and combative energy with me, I'm not going to have it. I'm just not. So I set that boundary, and I do set it with love. I'll tell them, look, I can't talk to you when you're like this. I'm sorry. When you calm down, maybe we can talk. I've done that with my kids since they were little kids, and stuff like this, because I am not going to be yelled at. I'm not going to be talked to crazy. I'm just not. Some people may find people that want to be talking crazy with them, but I'm not one that's going to have that. So to my other friend, I love her dearly, is that, we sometimes, if it's people that we love and they're twisting our words, sometimes we just have to have that boundary to just not spend that much time with them. Say, okay, well, I love you, but I've got to go now, because you've got to go and take care of yourself. Your time is valuable, and you need to take care of yourself. Sometimes, with people that, I don't defend myself, because if people are trying to disagree with you, there's nothing you're going to say. Some people are just disagreeable, so there's nothing you can say. I've told y'all before, I think about when I scheduled a grooming appointment. Like I said, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And I was, no, it wasn't grooming, it was a fix. I was going to get my dog fixed, and I called this lady to make sure that it was there and the appointment times and stuff, because I hadn't heard anything. And she said, I said, I could have sworn I did it here. I wasn't yelling. I was just like baffled. I could have sworn I did it here. And she goes, I don't care what you swear. It ain't here, or something like that. And I'm like, why'd you say that like that? You know, and she really didn't know what to say, because rather than coming back, this is what I mean in communication, rather than coming back and arguing in combative tone, I didn't need to argue and be combative with her. I wanted to know, why was she talking to me crazy like that? Why did you say that like that? Why do people fear not being able to express their real wants and needs and desires? Like Ken, you know, she really wanted to provide that service, but the lady didn't show up, you know, after the lady committed to it. So we have to remember that we really wanted to do this, that it's not about, you know, so this is what we wanted to do. When it doesn't work out, how are we going to go from there? You know, in personal relationships, you can't give them a charge, but you can understand, do I make plans with this person if they may or may not show up? If we have the time for them not to show up, then go ahead. But if your time is valuable and, you know, there's something else that you could be doing, then I wouldn't make plans, you know, unless you have a backup plan for if you get stood up. You know, because sometimes there's some people that's just flaky, you know. So in our personal times, I have friends that are just flaky sometimes. Sometimes they might show up, sometimes they might not. And that's just who they are. It has nothing to do with me. I love them. Because sometimes some people just, they're kind of all over the place, and they're still fun. It just, why do we want to make a judgment when things don't go exactly our way? So it's about staying true to ourselves and communicating with ourselves first. Can I afford this? I've said this before. Can I afford this? Do I have the time? You know, do I have the money? What have you, you know? This all reminds me, though, when I'm talking about communicating with ourselves, because I come from a place where, you know, when I was young, I used to like have my head down all the time, my hair all up in, you know, around my face, and people would say to me, smile, you know, but I had my own hang-ups about not feeling good enough, about not thinking my smile was good enough, about not thinking I was good enough, you know, so I didn't want to suit up and show up and be seen. Obviously, that's changed now. But it took work. It took my own life coach to be able to do that. And I told you that sometimes she would tell me things, suggest things to me that I could say differently, that I could do differently. Because even sitting in her house, like I said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes. You know, one time I told her about an interaction I had with my boyfriend at that time, you know, and she said, well, basically what I said was I called him a dumbass. The way that I said what I said to him, you know, it's like dumbass. And, you know, when she repeated it back to me, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. But I didn't realize I was like insinuating that just with that kind of tonality, you know. So it's about how we're talking to ourselves, because sometimes we do say things and not realize how we're coming out. And it wasn't about him. I didn't think he's a dumbass, you know, really. I mean, I just wanted him to, I had an expectation, an unreasonable expectation at that. What I learned in the male and female relationships is that when we're wired to think differently, then there's no way that they're going to just know these things sometimes. And she, you know, that same life coach had to tell me one time. I called her and I was pissed off. You know, this is why it's good to have a life coach. I called her and I was pissed off at him because he didn't get what I wanted for Valentine's Day, because I really like Valentine's Day. It's coming up, you know, so that maybe this will be a hint for people, because that'll be here before we know it next month. And so he got me a balloon and a card for Valentine's Day, and I was like, really? Really? You know, and I thought, like, he didn't put much thought into this at all. So I called her all twisted. First off, I called my sponsor. My sponsor said, well, you're lucky you got anything at all, which might be what some of y'all are thinking. But, you know, we have a right to want what we want, you know, and sometimes people are going to give it to you, sometimes not, you know. So I didn't like her answer, so I hung up from her and called my life coach. And I was like, you know, I really just, I'm really pretty offended, because I just don't feel like he put much thought into this at all. You know, it wasn't like we'd been dating for 2 or 3 months. It was like we'd been together for a few years, you know, so it's not like this man didn't know me. So, but, you know, we think that. I'm just saying this because I know that some of you will relate with this. So I called her all bent. She goes, well, you need to sit down and talk to him, but not right now, not while you're pissed off, you know. And so I'm like, okay. And she said, you need to ask him if you can have a Valentine's Day do-over. She said, you know, men don't think like we think. So you may even have to tell him if you want flowers, you'll have to tell him what kind of flowers. If you have a specific color you like, you're going to have to tell him what specific color, because they don't notice this stuff. She said, so when you want something, you have to tell them specifically. And you know what? I did what she said. I calmed down. I talked to him later, and he brought me the flowers, and he got me some perfume that was wrong too. But you know what? I just took the perfume. He brought me the receipt, and I took the perfume back to the store. But, you know, it was the thought behind it, you know, because he was trying. So sometimes people are trying, and they deserve to have the credit when they're trying too. You know, so it's like, if we're not personalizing everything to be against us, if we personalize things to be for us, you know, that things are happening for us, not to us, not against us. You know, but I understand having the mentality that we think things are against us, but things are actually capable of happening for us. So this is where the power of imagination comes through. Because I've also shared with you all how I sat in the therapist office and I would imagine all these bad things happening all the time. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? You know, and she said, Stacy, why don't you try to imagine something good happening? And I was like, I don't have an imagination, which was a lie, because she says, yes, you do. And I, you know, sometimes it takes me a minute. It's taken me less time now to put things together when I'm not making things all about me, when I'm able to listen more. But back in those days, everything that was coming at me was about me, you know. And so she, so what the thing was that I thought all this bad stuff I predicted was my reality, when in essence I was creating stuff with my imagination. Y'all get that? So I did learn to think differently. I did learn to think, you know, more expansive, because as long as I didn't think differently, I was limited, but I had to learn to think differently, expansively, you know. So I did learn to start imagining good things. So now when I'm working with people, you know, we go through prayers, we go through meditations, we go through tapping, we go through these different things to make it sink into us. Because if we just say something flippantly, it's not going to happen, because I've done that too. I want to do this, I want to do that. But if we don't have a plan, and then how are we going to enact that plan? And the good thing is when you've got friends or a support group, support team, this is why the Weight Watchers do so well and all of that. But then when you're done and you don't have that support team and you don't have all of that, then it comes back on. But when you learn to develop inside, you know, when you learn to get that esteem yourself, then you know what it is that you really want. And see, we're having to figure that out now after 2020, because many of the things that we used for our development, whether it was physical in the gym or whether it was, you know, some of the events that we got to go to, those were things that we really associated with. And a lot of the things that we were really associated with and attached to are no longer here. Even people. So that brings me to my mama. My mama also threw in her 2 cents on what to talk about communication, and that was gratitude. Because that's one thing about my mom that she always taught me that I love and that I have with me today, is because my mom used to always say, if you got your health, you got your wealth, because you can always make more money. You can always do all this. You can always get another relationship. You can always heal as long as you've got your health. But, you know, some people with millions of dollars don't have health, and that won't save them when they're dying. And we've experienced many deaths in the year of 2020. So, you know, if you have some health, be grateful for your health. You know, and that brings me to another thing, is I had somebody reach out to me on one of these business networks, you know, and so they asked me, so as a life coach, do you concern yourself with physical fitness? And I said, I've concerned myself with physical fitness before I was a life coach. I've been conscious about my health for a very long time now, you know. And he replies back, so what are you taking? And I'm like, that's the point. I'm not taking anything, you know. When I say that we can practice and develop, you know, I've gotten myself over here in Cancun, Mexico, where it's paradise all the time, you know. right? Not just alone. I've gotten it with energy. I've gotten it through communicating with people. I've got it through communicating with the universe. So it's getting out of the house. A lot of people tell me I'm doing just fine until I go out of the house and start having to communicate and deal with people. It is getting out of the house and stuff. So, I'm not suggesting to people to go off your meds at all. In fact, don't do that. I said I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying that because I was taught that attitude of gratitude. Gratitude will take you a long way, and if you weren't taught to have an attitude of gratitude, it can really hinder you in your life process. Even being taught to have an attitude of gratitude, sometimes I have to read something where it helps me to have more gratitude. There's all kinds of different books. We can have gratitude about health if you read Og Mandino, The Greatest Gift of All. Have gratitude. I'm reading the Magic book right now by Rhonda Byrne. Just different things. I like to read things that feed my soul. What are you doing to feed your soul? Because oftentimes what we read helps us communicate afterwards, And even my life coach told me I had written something, and she said, well, your literature skills are not that great, Stacy. And I said, yeah. So this was some years ago. But now my life coach is very supportive of me. She said, yes, it's gotten a lot. I said, you notice it's gotten better? She's like, yes, it's gotten a lot better. It won't get better if I don't practice and develop it, though. So that's what I do with those monthly blogs. So I don't know what your goals may be. If you want to write a book, you've got to start writing something weekly, something, or doing something weekly to expand what it is, because it's about practice and development. We can't say that we want something and then not practice and develop. If you want a healthy relationship, you have to practice boundaries. You have to practice those boundaries with yourself where, like when I studied karate, we looked in the mirror, and that was really intimidating at first when I was studying karate, because the thing is even though you're looking in the mirror and watching what you're doing, we think, or I thought at first, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is that when we first start something like that, we think that everyone around us is looking at us. It's all about us. And see, that's the thing, is that what's going on the outside is nothing about us. It's all about what they're doing, and it's not about us. So this is why I like to use this, is it's a reflection. So as a reflection of everything, I had to learn in karate to look my own self in the eyes and watch what I was doing. Stay focused. That's how I learned focus. I probably didn't even know focus until I took karate. But I had to learn to look in my own eyes, which helped me look in my own eyes. And they say the eyes are the window to the soul. So, it's how do we want to suit up and show up? I oftentimes give people exercises to where they do look at themselves in the eyes, and we work on issues that way. Because now I can look people in the eyes. Looking people in the eyes is a sign of respect. I didn't know that, for a long time growing up when I would be doing like this. And because it wasn't about the other people, it was about me. I didn't feel like I was good enough, was why I didn't look people in the eyes. But now I can look people in the eyes because I feel good enough, and it is a sign of respect. So that's one thing we can do to improve our self-esteem and how we appear to other people, and to build us up as we're doing things in this lifetime. Because, I work with people as young as 17, and I'm telling them this is how you go about life, because, this 2020 has left a lot of people struggling, and so you need to stand out. So you've got to, suit up and show up and be there, and you've got to have an energy that is going to make you stand out over other people, or at least give you a fighting chance. So it's about looking people in the eyes. So you look people in the eyes and you listen. We listen. If we listen to what people want and they need and they desire, when you're going in for a job, if you listen, it's also being able to reflect and look back at yourself. Maybe you do need to practice in front of a mirror what you would want to say to somebody else. We all have the dreams and goals and visions, and it is a practice and development, like saying just as simple, because I have these 3 goals, that I want to do, and I have no fear that they're going to happen. One of them is to get a computer so that I do all this recording and all my writing and all my sessions on one device, because as it stands now, as I'm using one device for recording, I'm using one device for this, so I'm getting a computer, in the beginning phases here, to invest in this business, to invest in being able to serve my purpose in this universe. And then the second one, was it? I can't remember. I don't even need to share the second and third one with you, but that's the first one. The second and third, we'll talk about 2 next week. How about that? Did I leave you hanging on that? So next week we'll do 2, but then I tell people, make a goal that, maybe it's not going to happen or maybe it will, but something that's just so wild and outlandish that, So, of course, everyone knows, as was last year, the same thing this year is that I want to meet Johnny Depp and maybe be his life coach. But I can't just, say, I just think that I'm just going to walk up to Johnny Depp one day and say, I want to be your life coach, as I have to practice and develop what it is that, that character within that would make me the good life coach for him or for anybody else. The kind of people that I want to attract as a coach is I have to make sure that I'm aligning myself with that energy. That's not meaning changing myself. It means because I want to provide them a service. They're not providing me a service. I want to provide them a service. So I have to know, what I want to do. I can't just say that I want to do something and then just it's going to happen and expect it just to happen. Maybe I'm going to have to go to the Hollywood Vampires concert in August in Birmingham in the UK. Maybe that's what I'm going to have to do and do the meet and greet thing. Maybe that's what I'm going to have to do. So I plan and I see how you do these things, And it can be fun. Because I didn't know 5-10 years ago that I was going to be here in Cancun, Mexico. But it's just doing those little micro things, those little things that we do daily. So when I'm telling people and suggesting to people and coaching people, it's like, so what is the plan? So we're going to stay accountable each week for what you do. If you don't show up for your appointment, well, it's not going to happen, right? It's not. So I have the no show up clause in my stuff too, is if you don't show up, then you're not going to get the results that you want to get. You're just not. So that's the biggest part, is showing up. So you show up, you have eye contact, and it's listening, being able to listen to somebody else so you can hear what they need, Because if you're just saying you want, you're not hearing what they need. So it's not just about that. So as I said, next week, I'll share with you the second wish that's on my wish list. And all these are expansive. So it's not just that I stop here. Because with that, like I said, with the computer that's going to be coming first off, is that it still expands into 3 different areas. My writing. I'm not just going to get a computer. I'm going to write on the computer. I'm not just going to get a computer. I'm going to do sessions on the computer. I'm going to continue learning on the computer. I'm going to, do the videos all in one. But my dream of traveling, that's one of my other dreams, is I still want to be able to travel once about every 3 months, and see different things and learn different things, because I love learning things. And, it wouldn't hurt you at all to learn how to communicate. There's all these different ways to learn to communicate. So if something's hurting you, seek out why it may be hurting you. We oftentimes want to seek out why other people are behaving the way they're behaving. And, there's different ways. Like if somebody is doing the twisting your words, they may be narcissist, but it won't heal you to find out about them. It will only help you understand them, which is okay. That's good. But isn't it more valuable and make you feel more valuable for you to understand you and for you to be able to set those loving boundaries to where you're not arguing with people every time you talk to them? So I hope that this video has been helpful. I appreciate you so very much. And again, I do Topic Tuesday on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook under Stacey Renee or Stacey's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I usually post it on the Stacey Renee page, though, for Topic Tuesday. Or you're always welcome to email me at staceyreinick@gmail.com. Or you're always welcome, again, to look me up at staceyforlife.com. Okay? All right. I wish you much love and peace into this new 2021. And again, if I can help you with anything, I am willing to give you 30 minutes of my time, no charge, just to help you feel like, to kind of get your bearings straight and to feel like you're a little bit organized, So I want us all to do good in this new year. So I hope that you're able to learn to communicate, and to go within, to reflect in that mirror, to look into your own eyes and see what is in your soul. What is it that you really want? And then you're able to communicate that, and that you feel that freedom to communicate that in a good, healthy way, because people won't hear us coming from the pain bodies. They just don't. All they hear is pain, but it's like blah, 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 because they have their own pain bodies too. So they're just going to respond with their pain body to your pain body. Okay? So I hope that this has covered those bases and been very helpful. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Next week, next Wednesday. I come to you every Wednesday. Like clockwork, consistent, because that's what you got to do, is stay consistent in these dreams and goals and visions. Okay? All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye.